Nobody knows you beyond what you provide, and after a while, you start doing the same thing to yourself. You stop asking if you're happy. You stop asking if you even like your life anymore. You only ask, am I keeping everything together? And that becomes your entire personality. You wake up already behind. Before your feet even touch the floor, your brain starts checking responsibilities, work, messages, bills, things you forgot, people waiting on you, people needing something from you, and eventually, being needed becomes the only thing that still makes you feel important. Not joy, not peace, not excitement, just usefulness. Being needed started feeling safer than being yourself. That's why resting feels uncomfortable now. Not physically, emotionally. You sit down for 1 hour, and suddenly you feel guilty for existing. You start thinking about things you should be doing. Emails, laundry, groceries, catching up. Even your weekends stopped feeling free. They started feeling functional. They stopped feeling like rest. And the scary part is, this looks completely normal from the outside. You became emotionally predictable, reliable, easy to depend on. You still smile automatically. You still say, I'm just tired. But deep down, something feels off. Because your whole life started feeling managed. You don't even know what you actually enjoy anymore. You only know what keeps things running. You became dependable before you became honest. When did that happen? That's why silence feels weird now. Because silence forces you to meet yourself, and most people avoid that immediately. They open their phone, turn on a show, check notifications, start cleaning something, anything. Because the moment life gets quiet, something inside them still feels unsettled, like they forgot how to exist without producing. A lot of people think burnout comes from working too hard, but that's not the real problem. The real problem is when your usefulness becomes your identity, because then you can never fully rest. Even when nothing is happening, your brain still feels responsible for something. People stopped knowing you personally. They just knew they could count on you, and people praise this version of you constantly. You're reliable. You always handle everything. You're so disciplined. But nobody notices how emotionally trapped you became. Nobody notices you haven't felt fully present in years. You got really good at surviving. That's different. There are people right now living entire lives like this, successful, functional, dependable, completely disconnected from themselves, and modern adult life makes this feel normal. Actually, it rewards it. The person who sacrifices themselves quietly usually gets respected the most. The person who keeps going, no matter what. The person who never complains. So, eventually, you stop seeing your exhaustion as a warning. You start seeing it as proof you're doing life correctly. That's why people feel weird after taking time off. Not refreshed. Weird. Like they lost structure. Like they became less valuable somehow. You see this everywhere. People checking emails during dinner. People unable to relax without feeling lazy. People turning hobbies into side hustles. People documenting every moment instead of living it. Even rest has to become productive now. Self-care, optimization, recovery. Everything still revolves around performance. Nothing feels separate from output anymore. And after enough years, you stopped existing outside of responsibilities. Not dramatically, quietly, slowly. You become the person everyone depends on, while secretly feeling emotionally absent from your own life. Take that away, and suddenly, there's nothing clear underneath. They thought freedom would feel peaceful. Instead, it feels empty, because they spent years building routines, not themselves. And nobody really talks about this part. The moment your life becomes stable enough, it also becomes harder to escape. You get used to emotional absence, used to functioning automatically. You stop asking bigger questions because everything technically still works. Your bills are paid, your responsibilities are handled, but emotionally, you feel replaceable. Like your value disappears the second you stop providing something. And honestly, a lot of relationships quietly reinforce this too. People appreciate what you do for them, not necessarily who you are. And after a while, you stop asking who you are underneath any of it, because usefulness feels safer than vulnerability. If people need you, they probably won't leave you. That realization controls more adults than people admit. A lot of people aren't afraid of failure. They're afraid of becoming unnecessary. That's different. Failure still means you tried. Being unnecessary feels like disappearing completely. And modern life feeds this fear constantly. The more responsibilities you carry, the more your identity starts merging with performance. You become known as the reliable one, the productive one, the responsible one, the stable one, and eventually, you start performing those identities automatically. Even when you're exhausted, even when you feel emotionally detached, even when you secretly want everything to pause, you keep performing okay, because people depend on that version of you now. Then one day, you realize something uncomfortable. You don't actually know how to stop anymore, not financially, emotionally. Pressure started feeling normal to you. Stillness started feeling unsafe. Rest started feeling unearned. And this is where people slowly disappear inside their own lives, not through collapse, through maintenance. You became addicted to looking okay. That's the trap. Not ambition, not hard work, looking functional. Because once your entire identity depends on functioning, you'll protect the routine even when it's destroying you quietly. That's why some people stay busy constantly, not because they love productivity, because productivity distracts them from themselves. The moment things slow down, the emotional emptiness catches up immediately. Questions appear. What do I actually want? Why do I feel numb all the time? When was the last time life felt real? Most people shut those questions down fast. They go back to work, back to routines, back to emotional autopilot, because at least responsibility gives structure, even if it slowly makes you feel absent from your own life. And honestly, you can live like this for years, looking completely fine. Meanwhile, your entire personality becomes management, managing stress, managing expectations, managing appearances, managing survival, until eventually, people don't really know you anymore. They only know what you provide. And maybe the worst part is, you start accepting that too. You stop showing unfinished parts of yourself. You stop expressing confusion. You stop admitting exhaustion honestly. You become emotionally controlled, useful, but not fully alive. And the scary thing is, this version of adulthood gets praised constantly. People call it maturity. Meanwhile, you quietly feel harder to recognize inside, like your real personality got buried under years of responsibility. Not destroyed, just replaced. Slowly. So slowly. You barely noticed it happening. And maybe that's why rest feels so uncomfortable now, because when everything gets quiet, there's almost nothing left between you and yourself. And deep down, you already know that.